Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Maryellen. I'm a registered holistic nutritionist, and I'm really excited to talk about one of my favorite topics tonight, hormones, because without hormones, we are nothing. When our hormones are out of whack, as you can see, you can have all sorts of fun things like PMS, headaches, cramps, bloating, acne. It affects every system in our body. For those of you who don't know me, I was introduced to Neo Life over 30 years ago, and I actually got started because of my son. He had a lot of respiratory issues. And as a concerned mom, I was doing a lot of research, trying a lot of products that did not work. And one day we were having dinner at a coworker of my husband's, and she was telling me about how she was feeling better. She wasn't tired anymore. She wasn't catching all the colds and flus. And she said, the only thing I'm doing different is taking these products from Neolife. And I'm like, okay, what makes them different from everything else? She said, all I know it's made from whole food and I'm not sick and tired anymore. So I was a law clerk at the time. I did a bit of research into the products and I got my family started. And within 6 months, my son's health, it turned right around. And just to, clarify, these products don't diagnose, treat, or cure any disease, but it's amazing what the body can do when it has the right stuff. And I got rid of the headaches I used to suffer from, and everybody who knew us, they just said, please share this stuff with me. And so I started sharing with my friends and family, and that's how I ended up doing this full time after a few years. So to tell you what we're going to talk about tonight, of course, at this, we're going to cover thyroid issues. We're going to talk about a lot of the things that disrupt our hormones. We're going to focus on adrenal glands because that's our fight or flight glands. And then I'm going to cover the basic hormone recipes, sort of things you can do to support all this. So, what happens when the thyroid doesn't work? It goes two ways. Hyperthyroidism is not as common, it's only 1 to 2%. And that's things like Graves' disease and autoimmune thyroid. The more common one is hypothyroid. That's a low thyroid. And it shows up as things as Hashimoto's. That's where you see the things like weight gain, you have trouble losing weight, and it slows down all the body systems. So it's a very common problem, this hypothyroidism. As you can see, it affects about 23% of the population. And unfortunately, it's mostly women. But there's also, they say, about additional 20 to 30% of people who are undiagnosed and classified as subclinical hypothyroid. So in other words, they're walking around with it. They don't understand why they're not feeling well, but it's actually because of the thyroid. So what are the signs of hypothyroid? As you can see, there's lots of them. Most of the common ones are tiredness. You just feel fatigued all the time, constipation, forgetfulness, your hair gets really dry and coarse. Some people get a hoarse voice. One of the signs, the bottom third of your eyebrow, if it thins or disappears, that's often a sign of thyroid. Anemia, irregular heartbeat, weight gain, heavy menstrual periods, infertility. As you can see, there's hot flashes. There's tons and tons of signs of hypothyroid. So it's actually interesting because there's a thyroid ovary connection. You don't really like. I always say if one gland's out of whack, it knocks them all out. So it does that actually affect our ovaries as well because elevated TSH. So if you know that you have hypothyroid, you'll go to your doctor and they'll do a blood test. And if your TSH is high, that's how they diagnose you as hypothyroid. So elevated TSH leads to an elevated prolactin, which can cause cystic ovaries. Because a lot of you have heard of polycystic ovarian syndrome. And so it's a good idea if you are diagnosed with this to make sure that you don't have a thyroid issue first, because you want to get to the source of the problem, not just treat it, right? And some people too, I'm sure you've seen people with those goiters where you get that big lump in their neck. And the reason this develops is when the thyroid gland doesn't make enough hormone. So the thyroid gland tries to make up for this shortage by growing larger. There's certain areas of the world that have endemic goiters because there's not enough iodine in their diet. And this showed up a lot when they took the iodine out of the salt for a while, and then people were getting a lot of these thyroid issues, causing the thyroid to grow. Some goiters are caused by certain medications, as lithium. It can be hereditary. Again, females are more common with this. It's more common when you're over 40 years old. And sometimes it's an autoimmune disease where your immune system actually attacks your thyroid and causes it to grow. And then some people actually get nodular growths that are called nodules in the thyroid gland, which can cause it to grow larger. And oftentimes they end up taking the thyroid out at that point. There's also a connection between thyroid, iron, and ferritin because low iron, if you're low in iron, it decreases your T3 and T4 hormones, which will cause thyroid issues. And low iron impairs the conversion of T4 to the more powerful T3. And low iron goes hand in hand with low ferritin because low thyroid causes low hydrochloric acid. That's what we need in our stomach to absorb minerals and poor iron absorption. Low thyroid causes low body temperature. So a lot of times you'll feel really cold because you make less red blood cells. And that's where your iron is carried. And low thyroid can cause heavy periods and subsequently cause, low ferritin levels, of course. And what are symptoms of low iron? Well, it's a good idea to get a blood test, but if you start to see your fatigue, peeling fingernails, some people get heart palpitations, dark circles under your eyes, fertility problems, hair loss can be an issue, premature graying of the hair, poor concentration, brain fog, that's a common one, pale skin. And the sad thing is your periods get heavier when you have low iron, so you lose even more iron, which is not good. Low thyroid, cold hands and feet, restless legs, breathlessness with exertion. And so the average Canadian gets 8 milligrams of iron a day, and you actually need closer to 20. So especially young women, it's really important that they have iron-rich foods or supplement with a good multivitamin with iron. So what are some of the things that disrupt our hormones? And we call them estrogen mimickers. There's things like pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. That's why, eating organic is so important. Dark hair dyes are higher in it, that's, the estrogen mimickers. Solvents and adhesives and things like nail polish, paint remover, glues, cleaning chemicals, parabens and cosmetics, dry cleaning chemicals. There is some natural dry cleaners you can go to now if you need to use that. All plastics, BPA, phthalates, never microwave or heat. And also, I see people do this all the time. It drives me insane. You have a water bottle and you see them squeezing it all the time. They're releasing all those things in the plastic. It's terrible. Farm fish, the birth control pill, HRT, commercial produced meat and dairy. And they're also known as xenoestrogens. And this is where you can see the things we talked about in all the different places. So there's a lot of those xenoestrogens. And what they do is they sort of take over where the natural estrogen is, and they cause like all sorts of issues in the body. Like you get estrogen dominance, you get all sorts of problems. So what are some of the hormone disrupting foods? Well, coffee that's not organic, like it's because coffee's got high pesticides. Alcohol, commercial dairy products are high in estrogen. Commercial meat and chicken are high in estrogen and testosterone, especially the factory farming. Like that's something you definitely want to try and avoid. Farm fish and pesticides on fruits and vegetables. So all of those things affect it. And of course, we always talk about those genetically modified foods. Like you can see here, this is a soybean, and look what they use. They use like bacteria and mouse protein and plants to do it. So it's definitely not natural. It's not like a good organic soybean. It's not the same thing. And here's some of the most common genetically modified foods: tomatoes, corn, soy, melon, cotton, and they're even doing the fish now and grains. So you really want to, be aware of that and try and avoid it. And as you know, Neolife, every single product has no genetically modified. They actually test it right from the seed stock to make sure, like, so they know that there's absolutely no GMOs in any of their ingredients. Every product is tested, which makes me feel very comfortable. And vitamin D is a big one. Like, in North America, we're so deficient in vitamin D. There's huge problems. And low vitamin D is also found in autoimmune thyroid and thyroid cancer because vitamin D modulates the immune system. So that's also something that's a good idea to get checked, especially if you have, thyroid issues. And Neolife has, this is one, I just love this product because when my clients start taking it, their levels balance out. It's absorbable, naturally sourced, it's whole food based. It's a unique plant source combination, and it's high potency for safety and quality. So it's a really good, safe vegan product. So now let's talk about those adrenal glands. Those are our stress glands. And what happens is when you're under stress, your adrenal glands get overworked because what they do is they produce stress hormones. For instance, cortisol. You hear a lot about cortisol. People blame it for everything, for belly fat, you name it, and for stress adaptation. But it also aids the kidneys in controlling water balance. It provides hormones as the ovaries decrease. So, in other words, when you start to go through menopause and your ovaries shut down, your adrenal glands are supposed to produce substitutionary estrogen. But if your adrenal glands are stressed, guess what? They don't do that. And that's why you hear these people with all these horrific hormonal issues. Like I know when I went through menopause, I just sailed through it. And everyone's like, you're so lucky. And I'm like, no, there's little more than luck involved here. You have to have a good lifestyle, good supplements, and you give your body the support so you don't have the symptoms. I started menopause the exact same time as my mom, and she had terrible menopausal symptoms, and I didn't. So, and I think the difference was because I ate better, I didn't smoke, all those kind of things, right? And I also took Neolife. And the adrenals produce progesterone and estrogen, precursor hormones, and testosterone to balance the effects of the cortisol. In males, the adrenals are the exclusive source of their estrogen because men have estrogen too. Exhausted adrenals can also promote low thyroid. So again, you know how they hear stress is the killer for everything, because exhausted adrenals equals imbalanced hormones. So it's very, very important to support our adrenal health. So what's some of the symptoms of adrenal fatigue? Well, you fall asleep great, but you wake up and you can't get back to sleep. You hear that a lot, right? Low thyroid, like we talked about, fatigue, exhaustion, hypoglycemia. So in other words, your blood sugar gets too low, you get shaky, irritable. If you can't tolerate alcohol, sometimes that's a sign. Back pain, achy muscles, weak legs, low and high blood pressure, allergies, asthma. You can see it affects so many things: nervousness, anxiety, insomnia. You crave. Oftentimes with adrenal exhaustion, you really crave salty stuff. That's what I find the most. But you can also crave coffee, sugar, and alcohol. Increase or decrease in skin pigment, sign and shortness of breath, and reoccurrent infections and digestive problems. That's all signs of adrenal exhaustion. So this was an interesting article that was in CNN. And what they're talking about is it's not just what we're eating that's killing us, it's what we're not eating. And what they basically say is the issue is we don't have enough whole grains, fruits, nuts and seeds, omega-3s, and vegetables. That's what we're lacking in our diet, and it's making us sick. So this is where we want to try and fill these gaps. And it's really difficult with the grains now because, as you know, they mill the grains, they remove all the fiber, all the precious germ. There's 22 important nutrients that are taken out, and what's left? Starch and white flour and gluten. And that's why so many people have gluten intolerances as well, besides the fact they spray it with pesticides before they harvest it, which doesn't help. So, how can we support our hormones? I talked about all the issues. Well, the key things is lipids and sterols from whole grains, vitamins, trace elements, minerals, omega-3 fatty acids, and protein. These are the things that our hormones need to be happy. Okay. And I'd like to, Joan, could you share your story with us? Because you've got a great story on hormonal balance and everything.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joan Poon. I was introduced to Neolife 30 years ago by Maryellen. At that time, I had just finished treatments for breast cancer, and I was looking for something to boost my immune system and my energy level. And I started using the products, and I got the results. I felt a huge difference in my energy level. My immune system got stronger. I didn't get sick as often, and my allergies went away. Now, my type of breast cancer was related to lifestyle, was related to hormones and lifestyle rather than genetics. So that was good because I could change some of those things. So some of the lifestyle factors were stress, my diet, and the environmental toxins, as Mary Ellen referred to, that affected my hormones. I think a lot of xenoestrogens. And so knowing this information, I was able to make some changes. So I improved my diet, had more fruits and vegetables, of course, using the Neolife supplements to support my immune system. and also to balance my hormones that helped. And I minimized exposure to all the environmental toxins, like using our environmentally friendly cleaning products. And another thing was I detoxed my body, especially my liver, because that's a big thing with hormones. If it keeps recirculating, if your liver can't get rid of hormones, then that could be an issue as well. So, and also, of course, the most important is I learned strategies to deal with stress and, if possible, avoid stressful situations. And so I didn't have all of this information when I was diagnosed. So I'm really grateful that to learn about it, what you're learning tonight, that you can make the changes and you can change your lifestyle so you can minimize those risks. So, yeah, that's my story. Thanks for allowing me to share my story.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joan. And it's so true what you talked about. Getting stress under control is so, so important. And you look so amazing now. You have not aged since the day I met you over 30 years ago. You look great. So that's wonderful. And some of the things that key and to, to really get ourselves healthy is to fill the whole grain gap. So Neolife created a product called Treonine Grain Concentrates. It was from 1958, and it was based on a hospital study on people with chronic fatigue, adrenal exhaustion. And what they found was that even though they gave the people vitamins, minerals, enzymes, it wasn't until they added these oils from these whole grains that they started to feel better. And it actually improves how you absorb nutrients from your food up to 50%. It was proven overall growth and development. But the key is it makes our cells healthy. As you can see, the cell on the right, that's a healthy cell. It has the cell membrane is made of those lipids and sterols, so nutrition can go in and waste can go out. But the cell on the left, that is not a healthy cell. It doesn't have those oils. The cell membrane is leathery. Nutrition can't get in, waste can't get out. That's a tired, constipated, stupid cell, right? So we want to bring our cells back to good health. And if you're tired, you have a lot of those cells on the left. That's definitely, and this is what Treonine does. It gives you energy. And they actually did a independent research study. And as you can see, it increased adrenal activity, estrogenic activity, androgenic activity. And, this was done in 1987. And it shows, and this is why you think if you can feed those adrenal glands, you can, help yourself deal with stress. And Neolife puts a Treonine in our Pro Vitality, which is like our Cadillac of multivitamins, and it's like a 4 essentials in one solution, and it for energy, antioxidant, heart health, clear vision. And it's so handy. It's in one little pack. It comes with 4 pills. You just take that every day and you get all the benefits from the fruits and vegetables, the omega-3s, the vitamins and minerals. You get everything all in that pack. So it's quite an amazing pack. And then to complement this, you also need protein, right? Because you hear you have to eat more protein in our diet. Well, the Neolife shake comes in chocolate, vanilla, berry. It tastes incredible. It's so good. It's like a treat every day. And it has 18 grams of protein, 25 vitamins and minerals. And you need the lipids and sterols and the amino acids to hook up and produce your prostaglandins, which are the precursor for your hormones. So, so important. And it also has the branched chain amino acids, so our muscles don't, because as you get older, you get a lot of people get sarcopenia where their muscles get all saggy. It helps control your blood sugar, which is so important. And it was proven in weight loss, cardioprotective, and lowering body mass. But the thing that makes this so unique is that blood sugar control, the glycemic index. I've never seen another shake that has that. It's been proven to control your blood sugar the way this has. And what's the significance of 22 amino acids? You think, like, who cares how many's in there? Well, we need those for digestive enzymes, antibodies, hormones, collagen in our skin to keep our skin healthy and control blood sugar levels. So what we've done is we put the Pro Vitality with the Neolife Shake, and that's our breakfast solution. So that's a great way to start your day. Cindy, would you like to share? Because I know you've got a great story with your daughter in her hormonal issues.
Yeah, thank you, Maryellen. Yeah, yeah, our family's been taking the products, I want to say, I think it's 27 years now. And it was actually because of my daughter that I even started and took a look at Neolife because she was such a picky eater. And one thing I found during those teen years when we first started the Neolife products was that she was a much nicer person when she was faithful in taking her products, right? Definitely could notice the change, just how she interacted with me, or just, yeah, it was, but yeah, just fast forward almost 30 years now. Um, my daughter is starting to go through kind of the beginnings of menopause, where she had started to get some hot flashes. And but I knew from my own experience when I had started that I just tweaked my own program and got everything under control. And so Erin as well followed suit, and just we tweaked her program, and the hot flashes are gone. Yeah, and I've seen other ladies that they know I tell them about Neolife, but they're going through like well into like their 60s and stuff, still getting those symptoms, right? When really there is a solution here. So yeah, it's just definitely, you don't have to suffer. But yeah, I definitely recommend like you said, the breakfast pack, and then sometimes you just need a little extra of something else. But yeah, it's wonderful. Thanks,
Yeah,
Maryellen.
thanks so much, Cindy. That's a great story, and I know with a lot of young girls, like oftentimes when they have issues, they want to put them on the birth control pill and stuff like that. And I've just found that by giving them Formula 4 with the grain concentrates, the kids balance right out. They do great. And another thing to help focus, because a lot of times with brain fog, with their hormone issues and energy, is our Elevate. And this tastes amazing. It's great for hydration, for mood, for focus, and you just you drink it, and it's got like it's just from green tea. It's a safe energy drink, which a lot of young people are, when I see them drinking a lot of those things in the market, I just like, this is one of the leading causes of why young people end up in emergency rooms because of those terrible energy drinks. But this is just green tea, magnesium, electrolytes, and it boosts physical energy, supports balanced mood and hydration. So it's a great product to add to the breakfast pack. And when you do that, it's called our Core 3, which is your all-in-one health solution for total wellness, weight management, and peak performance. So it's great. And when you look at products, like you wonder, why are these products so safe? Well, when you see that, Consumer Report found hidden drugs in nearly 50 dietary supplements sold on Amazon, there was hidden dangers in over-the-counter supplements. Even the University of Guelph went into health food stores and drugstores and found none of the products were meeting label claims. And even protein powders, they found there's elevated levels of heavy metals, BPA, in 53 of the leading brands. So it is really important to trust the company that you're dealing with. And when I did my research in Neolife, I was so impressed. They've been around since 1958, never had a dietary recall. They're a worldwide nutrition company, so their products are approved in over 50 countries around the world, and they meet or exceed the health standards. They've been, they're trusted by millions of satisfied customers, and it's made from food, so it's safe. They guarantee quality without compromise. So it's created by doctors and scientists. They're whole food based cellular nutrition. They're GMO free, as I mentioned before. They have a pharmaceutical license for manufacturing. They actually have independent human studies done on the products to prove, and they're published in peer reviewed journals. So this is very, very unique, that the standard that Neolife goes to. And the reason they have these high standards is because of the Scientific Advisory Board, which is founded by Dr. Arthur First, who's one of the top toxicologists in the world. He was a co-founder of oral chemotherapy, and when he was doing his research on cancer, he found nutrients in food to prevent disease. And that's why he joined up with Neolife in the 1970s. And he was with them for over 25 years. And as you can see, we have, world-renowned researchers, scientists, doctors that are involved in the development of the product. So very, very unique. And when you look at a product, you say, well, people ask me, uh, what should I look for? Well, just because it says natural, it can be anything from the ground, right? Petroleum, pine bark. But Neolife goes, those missing gaps we're missing in our diets, the whole grains, fruits and vegetables, the omega-3 salmon. That's what Neolife makes their products from, and that's what you want. And as you can see, these publications like, the New England Journal of Medicine, Clinical American College of Nutrition, the products are independently tested and published in these very prestigious journals. And Neolife has a total health solution. We focused on the basic program tonight, but if you do have other concerns, like as Cindy mentioned, you might have to tweak your program a little bit. We do have other solutions, but we're going to really focus tonight on women and hormones. So a good program for that is our breakfast pack, which is the Pro Vitality and Shake. Sometimes if you need extra iron, the Formula 4 is good, especially for younger girls. Also, oftentimes you need calcium, magnesium, because that's really important, especially when you start going through menopause. You have to really watch to make sure your bone density has stayed strong. Multi-mineral helps, is part of the hormonal balance program. Sometimes people need extra super B, especially if they're under a lot of stress. And if you do get a lot of hot flashes or problems like that, the feminine herbal complex can be good. And sort of the basic hormone recipe is kind of like a cake, right? If you leave out let's say you leave out the flour or you leave out one of the ingredients, you're not going to get a good cake. And sometimes that's why it's, depending on your situation, for sure the basics, Pro Vitality and protein shake, but sometimes you need to add a little bit more to make it better. And actually, I just saw Joanne today. She dropped by my house. When she was in her late 20s, she started to experience perimenopause symptoms such as hot flashes, night sweats, trouble concentrating. She just couldn't deal with them. Her doctor put her on HRT. She was on it for about 5 years, and they said, "You have to get off this. You cannot stay. It's not safe to stay on it." So she was introduced to Neolife by her friend Susan, who was telling her that there's stuff that could help her. So, anyways, within 6 months of taking Formula 4, Neolife Shake, Feminine Herbal Complex, E, Multimineral, and Cruciferous, she was off her hormone replacement therapy. And actually, this was written when she was 57. She's in her 60s now, and she sailed through menopause, no issues, and she's never had to go on HRT again. So it's a very amazing story. And this is Nada's sister, Diana, and she suffered for years as a young girl, like which many girls do. She dieted and struggled with an eating disorder. And she got through that, but it affected her muscle and her bone mass. She had low energy. She didn't have a menstrual cycle. She was prone to colds. She had all sorts of issues. And after a few weeks of being on the product, she had more energy. She felt better. After a few months, her skin cleared up. Her head wasn't so foggy. Her mood improved. And she actually started getting her menstrual cycle again naturally. And she couldn't believe it because she'd been taking these products ever since and is so grateful to have had a chance to get her health back. So these are the kind of stories that, that make us so excited about sharing these products. And if you're wondering, how can I get started? Well, you can become, Neolife has a free member program and you get an automatic 10% discount. If you put it on a monthly order, because like the Pro Vitality lasts a month, so you want to order it or something every month, then you'll get a 20% discount. And you can, if you share the products with others, you can earn free products. If you order 6 months in a row, you'll actually get all your shipping back. So they have a lot of perks to make it, like such an amazing program. There's also another choice of a promoter. It's $98 in Canada and $75 in the US. With that, you get an automatic 25% discount. You can earn commissions and bonuses. You get your own website, and I have a lot of customers, even depending what you're looking at purchasing. It's also a great way to get started. Or if you're like me and you just can't, once you start feeling good, you just can't stop sharing it with everyone, then you can start earning some extra money. Because when I got started in Neolife, all I wanted to do was get myself and my son healthy. But, I'm telling you, I just couldn't stop talking about it when I saw the results, and all my friends and family started asking me, and, like sharing with people like Joan. It just, changes people's lives. So if you like helping others, it's a great thing to look at. So you actually decide if you just want to start with the products. Being a member is a great way to start because it's free to join. If you're kind of looking for a little side gig, or maybe like you you know people who could benefit from this, you could start as a promoter. Or if you just want to learn more, we have these sessions every Thursday night. Go to the person who introduced you, and we'd be happy to help you out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop the recording, and I'm going to stop the presentation, and we're going to open it up to questions. So let me just stop the recording. Oops. There we go.